And we do it like this.
Learn, work, serve, love.
I wanted to share a message today with you about culture. And the boys are going to start off doing a presentation called a haka. So, New Zealand, I'll just put as NZ, okay? Maoris are indigenous or native people from New Zealand, the dark-skinned people of New Zealand. And hakas are not only war chants, that's one of the things that they did. It was originally, the haka war chant, or the war haka, was done by warriors just before battle, and it was used to show the strength and stamina and prowess of these soldiers and to intimidate their enemies. So you'll see that version today. But hakas are also performed to honor guests, maybe at weddings or when foreign dignitaries come. There's a lot of different versions. Fijians, like the Maoris, also respect their cultural ties with family and their tribe. I forgot to write. I wanted to write some attributes here.
You sniff them to smell.
And what's the greeting word in Fiji?
Hello, but the way you just say hello is just bula. Can you say bula? Bula. I can't hear you.
That's good. So because they go to such an extent to introduce themselves, it allows that other Fijian to make a connection. They'll say something like, "Oh, my friend or my family member comes from your island too," and they'll start to talk about who they know, that they know, and pretty soon they're embracing, and now they're brothers. These are ways that we express our culture, but culture is not just an ethnicity, meaning the color of your skin or your race. Culture is a lot of things. It's kind of like a recipe. There's, your race is definitely part of it, your religion, your education level. I'm going to say homeland, so it could be your neighborhood or your state that you come from for us. It's the language you speak, the food you eat, what you value or believe in, and also what's important to you. For example, you might know some families that are all about baseball. Baseball's in their blood, or soccer, or maybe children are important in a family and really valued. Maybe service is important to a family, maybe tea time with the neighbors. All of these things mixed together becomes a person's cultural identity. Then I went to college in Hawaii. Suddenly I was on a campus with over 70 countries represented. The word culture was used daily in our classrooms. And everyone was talking about their culture, and I started to feel really pale and really boring. But then as they talked about culture, and they would talk about all these things, I suddenly had an epiphany. I realized I have a culture. I have all these things. I just haven't ever recognized it. I had to realize that I had a culture. I had to stop and think about it, identify it, even write things down before I really got it. And then I started to honor it. And I felt committed to preserving it. I'd like you guys to think for just a minute about your culture. A culture breeds character. One thing I want to pass on to my boys is a respect for their cultures, both sides. They're indigenous Fijian culture and their American and European culture. It builds their character. Character will take you much farther in life than anything else. It will take you farther than your education or than the money in your pocket. You'll get farther in character, I promise. That's one reason why we choose to homeschool. So if you didn't think I was nuts already just by having 5 boys, just imagine being their teacher too. But it's my privilege. One of the things that we do talk about in terms of our character in our family is we discuss these 3 principles: rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Now, sometimes understanding these things is important, because when one of the boys gets really emotional or is having what I call a meltdown, it often is because they're perceiving a privilege as a right. Meaning like, I should be able to play the computer right this minute. It's my right. You know, it comes down to that. And we have to, whoa, we can really take the emotion out of this if we sit down and identify these things. So boys, as I write them on the board, will somebody tell these guys and ladies what a right is?
A right is something that you are entitled to. Like, you have the right to have a body, you have the right to breathe air, you have the right to eat food, you have the right to be safe, you have the right to be happy. You're responsible to clean a room. You're responsible to take out the trash. You're privileged to watch movies. Or do on computer. Or stay up late.
So understanding this is important to their character. And it takes away a lot of the fighting that needs to go on between parent and child, because they need to know, I'll say, that's a privilege, not a right. So we don't need to fight about it. When there's an infraction, such as the responsibility, you had the responsibility to pick up your own mess and it didn't get done. Or they said earlier, before we got here, that you said in the car, you're responsible to get yourself dressed and ready to go in the morning, right? You're big enough to do that. That's not my responsibility. So if it fails to get done and I have to ask again, sometimes we use things like burpees. Does anybody know what a burpee is here?
I'm good at those.
Okay, who wants to take on a burpee challenge?
Aaron Naivalus.
Okay, Isaiah's going to stand here. Sometimes it's just hard to get it in your head. Those things slip out, those words that hurt other people and that are just ignorant to say. And so we use burpees as a physical way to take a time out, kind of work out some aggression, and then you get done with them and you can redirect, reframe. So I'm going to have Kevin do a burpee challenge with Isaiah. On your mark, get set, go. Go, Isaiah, go. All the way down. Chest to neck, all the way down. Kevin, down to the floor. There you go. Go. There you go. All the way to 10. All the way down. Good job. How many have you got? Keep going, keep going. Isaiah, 2 more, Isaiah. 9. Come on, Kevin. Come on, Kevin. Yay! Thank you, Kevin and Isaiah. Give me a high five.
More, Kevin.
Thank you for being willing to share, Kevin. That was awesome. So can you see that in a house full of boys, that suddenly disrupts, we've adopted bits and pieces that are positive from the Maoris into our family culture. You can do the same. You might see someone's family that's super respectful and you think, geez, we didn't ever talk like that in our family. People are so rude. I'm going to take that into my heart and I'm going to create my own culture and be respectful. Or it could be switching beliefs or food, for example. I'm not Italian, but I've adopted their culture, I think. You're free to create your own culture. So it's not, even though these are bits and pieces of it, you're not defined by your race or your religious background or your level of education. It doesn't have to stop there. You don't have to think, well, I got the short end of the stick, I'm a minority. I felt like a minority when we went to Fiji and when I lived in Hawaii and Spain. But that didn't have to determine who I was. In closing, there's 3 points here are my takeaway points I'd like you to remember. These 3 words are identity, security, and meaning. Now, as a therapist, in my job, I have found that people who have a solid sense of identity, security, and meaning are happy, fulfilled, and goal-directed people in life. But those who have perpetual problems are struggling with one or more of these issues. Now, the people that struggle are those who seek instant gratification, such as frivolous spending of money, because it's like, oh, if I spend a lot of money and buy new things or have the coolest, latest gadget, I'm going to feel good about myself. They don't realize that these are the things they're missing, but these are what they're missing. They might use substances, or they might seek short-term, gratifying relationships. All kinds of reckless behavior just in search of identity, security, and meaning. And what they really get out of that is the counterfeit. They get momentary pleasure at the cost of losing all joy and true inner peace. Now, identity is knowing who you are, not what you do, not what you wear. It's really knowing who you are, what really makes you happy, honestly happy, what you can feel proud about. My boys, part of their identity is linked to their Fijian culture. They feel good about coming and sharing that with you. And then the next question is, who do I want to become? So herein again lies the power to change. There was a man named Viktor Frankl who survived the Nazi concentration camps, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He said that he survived because of the power of his mind. He said, I don't care that they've tied me up. I'm still free because I control my mind, what I put into it and what I speak. He observed that he had more freedom than his Nazi captors. This is just a true principle of life. Would you like to say something?
So, circle of freedom is all the freedoms you have. If you disobey, it gets smaller, and you get into more captivity, even privileges. But if you obey, it gets wider.
Who has more freedom? The person who obeys the traffic laws, or the one who gets pulled over so many times to get their license taken away? When you are irresponsible, your circle of freedom shrinks. You're more captive, and your privileges get taken away. But the more you obey natural laws, which can include laws of the land and parental laws, your circle of freedom increases. If I don't lose my license, I've got more freedom to drive wherever I want in the country. If you have an identity and you know who you are and what you want to become, then you start to surround yourself with those kind of people. You look for those people and you bring them into your culture, your personal culture. We want to know more about the Fijian culture, so we spend time with other Fijians. Makes sense, right? If I want to be a successful entrepreneur, then I need to spend time with successful entrepreneurs. You surround yourself, and you feel comfortable with other people in that same culture. When you've done that, all of a sudden, meaning and purpose in your life emerge. Adolescence in the developmental stages of psychology is a time when you're seeking identity. You're developing your own. Your parents have taught you all this stuff about family culture, and you're really starting to explore your own identity. And theorist says you're experiencing identity versus role confusion. What happens with role confusion is when you haven't done the work to identify your own identity. And so what you do is you just look around and you're like, hey, that looks cool. They're all brown and they wear red skirts. I'm going to go hang out with them. And you're over here doing what they do, singing like they sing. Oh, wait a minute. I really like what they're doing. So I'm going to go over here and hang out with them. And so you start to talk like them and use the same slang. And, oh, I really like basketball, so I'm going to go hang out with them. But somewhere along the line, if you haven't done the work, you're going to kind of feel like, this isn't me. I'm not being authentic. I'm just playing a game and living a facade. I want to encourage you to find your culture. This is a great time to do it, to find your identity, surround yourself with others from that culture. And it will guide your sense of security. You'll know where you fit and belong. It'll help you to discover the dream or purpose in your life, what you really want out of life.
Look around! Look around! Look around! Look around! la 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 la.